So we are in part 3 of our series, Guardrails. And if you have not heard part 1 and 2, you can always go on our website, impactchurchmd.com, and check those out. You can find our podcast or find our YouTube page as well. But we are in part 3 of the series, Guardrails, that I hope has been very practical for you, because when I heard this series 7-8 years ago, it made such a difference in my life. So when we started church, right away we knew we wanted to talk about this series that made a big difference for us, so I hope it's been practical for you. But a guardrail, as all of us know when we're driving, a guardrail is a system designed to keep us from straying into dangerous or off-limit areas. When you are driving, you see guardrails all the time that are protecting you from going to a spot you don't want to be in. That's what a guardrail is. A guardrail is there to direct us and to protect us. And what's interesting about a guardrail is a guardrail is never placed in the danger zone. It's always placed in the safety zone. So technically, you could drive where a guardrail is, but it's there to make sure you never get to the danger zone. And no one complains about it. Everyone's okay with it. You would much rather hit a guardrail and do a little bit of damage to your car or to yourself. You'd much rather do that than there be no guardrail there and you go into the danger zone, go into a ditch, fall off the bridge. A guardrail, that's what that is. And in life, just like in driving, in life, we also need guardrails. We also need guardrails. And our definition for a guardrail has been this. A guardrail is a personal standard of behavior that becomes a matter of consciousness. It's a personal standard. It means it's just your standard. It's a personal standard of behavior that becomes a matter of consciousness. Now, when you bump up against that when it comes to your morals, when you bump up against your guardrail when it comes to your relationships, then alarms go off in you. So that way you never get to the area where a lot of people regret, the danger zone. You put that guardrail before you ever have to suffer some of the consequences that a lot of us have suffered in life. A guardrail is a personal standard of behavior that becomes a matter of conscience. You were here last week. I talked about the second least favorite topic people like to talk about in church, and that was sex. So if you missed that one, you can check that one out. It was more about fidelity and faithfulness, but that's what we talked about last week, was everyone's second least favorite thing to talk about in church, sex. So today, I figured since it's baptism service, we just did everyone's second least favorite topic, that I would talk about everyone's least favorite topic to talk about in church, and that's money. Everyone's already mad. I can see it. I can see the disappointment, right? No one likes talking about that in church, and I get it. And I even debated doing it because, with it being a baptism service, I debated it. But here's why I think it's so important to talk about money, because Jesus says a lot about money. Now, I hate talking about money. I hate it. During our church planning process, I had to go and meet with a bunch of different pastors to see if they would support us financially for this church plan. I hated it. It felt like kind of gross being in church culture that way, and it kind of felt like Shark Tank. Anybody watch Shark Tank? I think I was like pitching like what we're doing to try to get financial support. I met with like 20 different pastors, and by the end of the day, we had 14 churches that supported us, 12 of them supporting us financially. And it sucked. I hate talking about it. I hated saying, hey, we need this amount of money, but I knew it's what we had to do. I don't like talking about this topic. And when I think about money, here's some of the thoughts that I have, and maybe you've had these thoughts too. I wonder for myself, what would I own if I didn't know what you owned? Or what would I spend my money on if I didn't know what you spent your money on? Or how much money would I save if I didn't know what you spent your money on? And here's a really dangerous one to think. How much money would I give to people that have less than I do if I didn't know what people that have more than I do have? It's dangerous to think that way, right? When it comes about our money. I understand we don't like hearing this topic. We don't like hearing about sex. We don't like hearing about money. I get it. But like we talked about last week, there's so many danger zones when it comes to sex, and there's such a big regret when it comes to that we have to talk about it. And when it comes to money, I love you as your pastor too much to avoid this topic. I don't like talking about it, but I love you too much to avoid it. So we're going to talk about it. In fact, Jesus talked so much about money. Jesus talked more about money in the Bible than he did about heaven and hell combined. That's how much Jesus talked about money. So it's important. Why did Jesus talk about it that much? Because he had to. People didn't get it. He had to talk about it. And when Jesus talked about money, he didn't talk about money so that he can get a lot of money. He talked about money because he wanted to save you from your money. See, money is not about what you have. It's about your devotion. It's about what you're devoted to when it comes to your money. So today, I want to talk to you about financial guardrails that you can start placing in your life. Now, if you're here today and you would say, I'm not necessarily a Christian, I'm just here because someone got baptized, I wanted to check it out. If you're here and you would say you're not a follower of Jesus, You do not have to do any of this, okay? You don't have to do this, because if you don't follow Jesus, Jesus doesn't have any authority over you. So I would recommend doing it because I think it's very practical no matter what you believe. But if you're here and you don't believe this stuff, I'm so glad you were here and hanging out with us. But don't feel guilty because I'm not necessarily talking to you. It would help, but you don't have to do it. But if you're here today and you would say, yeah, I'm a follower of Jesus, you have to do this. Because you can't decide, you know what, I'm going to take the Jesus part for the grace, but I'm going to ignore the other stuff. That's hard for me. You can't do that. You have to do this. Now, if I start talking and you start to feel guilty at points, don't feel that bad because 90% of Christians don't follow this. 90% don't actually follow this. You're not doing what Jesus called you to do, but 90% of people don't actually follow what this is. But Jesus talked about it. And before we start, I want to make this very clear. God doesn't want your money. God doesn't want your money. God doesn't want anything from you. God wants something for you. And the same is true about this church. This church does not want your money. We don't. We want something. We don't want something from you. We want something for you. So my goal today is not to teach you how to get out of debt. My goal today is not to teach you how to avoid bankruptcy. There's a lot of great lessons you can learn from all that stuff. But that's not my goal today. None of that's my goal. Because in fact, there are people here today that are very wealthy and have never been bankrupt, have never been in debt, or are not in debt currently, and you're in a ditch when it comes to your finances. There are people like that today. So it's not about that. See, Jesus, when he talks about money, he talks about the heart of the matter, which is why it's so important. He talks about the heart of the matter. So we're going to be reading from Matthew chapter 6. If you have your Bibles or your Bible apps, go to Matthew chapter 6. We're going to be starting in verse 24. So here's what Jesus says when it comes to our stuff. Matthew 6, verse 24. It says, no one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. It says, no one can serve two masters. The Greek word here for master can be translated to one who is in charge by virtue of possession or ownership. That's what the word master means in Greek. Possession or ownership. So you cannot have two owners. You cannot have two people that own you, that possession. It's not possible. When you do, you will hate one and love the other. So you expect him to say something like, you cannot have two masters, you cannot serve both God and Satan, right? That's what we expect. But here's how the rest of the verse continues. You cannot serve both God and money. You cannot serve both God and money. You cannot have two masters. You can't have money and God be your masters. You cannot serve both God and money. See, the primary competition for your heart when it comes to God is your money. It's your stuff. It's a primary competition. And the primary issue when it comes to your money is not your money. It has nothing to do with your money. It's its mastery. It's who your master is. It's the fact that your money can own you. That's what it's about. So the question I want us to wrestle with today is this. Do we have money or does money have us? The question I want you all to wrestle with today is, do I have money or does my money have me? Do I own money or does money own me? Do I possess money and use it or does money possess me and use me? Do we have money or does money have us? See, without the proper guardrails in place when it comes to your finances, you can be super wealthy, but you can still fall into two ditches. And here's the ditches that we can fall into. Spending and hoarding. Spending and hoarding. If you have a lot of money, so you spend it. You buy all the stuff you want, you pay all your bills, you just spend, and you just buy stuff that you need. Or you hoard it. You keep it safe. You make sure you don't spend anything. You keep everything you need. You don't give anything away. Spending or hoarding. Spending is unrestrained desire. You have a desire, you fulfill it. Unrestrained. Or hoarding is unrestrained fear. You're so afraid of what's going to happen next, you have to make sure you're protected at all times. Unrestrained fear. Spending and hoarding are two traps you can fall into. Now, the root cause of both of these, spending and hoarding, is a word that we hate. You ready? Here's the word. Greed. That's the root cause of both of these. Greed. None of us want to be greedy, right? We all hate that word. So when we think of the word greed, we think of like Scrooge McDuck jumping into a big pile of coins, or like Richie Rich or something like that. And here's why we think that. When we think of those people are never us. Always somebody else, some extravagant, some extreme example. But greed, for what we're talking about today, here's our definition for greed, and some of you have probably heard this definition before. Here's our definition. Greed is the assumption it's all for my consumption. The assumption that it's all for my consumption. It's assuming that everything I have is for me. it's for me. If it's in my paycheck, it's for me. If it's in my savings account, it's for me. If it's in my hands, it's for me. If it's in my 401k, it's for me. If it's in my bank account, it is for me. It's the assumption that everything we have is for our consumption. And if I choose, out of the occasional compassion, to give what is mine to somebody else, I pray God is watching, because here I go, here comes the bucket, let's do it in slow motion, so God, make sure you didn't miss it. Look, God, look how great I am. I gave what is mine to somebody else. Greed is the assumption that it's all for my consumption. Consume now, spend. I'm going to spend, so consume now, or consume later, hoarding. Now or later. Consume now, consume later. And when you live this way, when you live with a lifestyle of greed, you are living as if there is no God. You are living as if there's nothing else but you. So if you're here today and you would say, I don't know if I believe in anything else in this life, then do what you want. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow you die, right? If you don't believe there's anything else, then do what you want. Why not? Because it's all about now. But if you're here and you think there's something else bigger than you, if there's something else bigger than you, then we can't fall into the trap of hoarding and spending. We can't fall into the trap of greed, because then we make it about us. And we pretend like there is nothing else but us. So I want you to imagine with me really quick. Imagine with me that you were in financial trouble. Some of you, it's not hard to imagine this. You've had past where you've had financial. So think about that. Maybe you're currently in financial trouble. Think about your current situation. And if you've never been either, just imagine for me like you lost a job, or you had a huge payment you had to make, and you were in financial trouble. You're in this situation where finances are rough. Most likely, you're going to pray for God to help you, right? God, please enter into my... And here's what we do. We're in this financial trouble, we're worried, and we're stuck in a bad spot. So we say, God, I want to invite you in to my financial situation now. If you could help me out now, because I've been mastered by my money and I'm suffering for it. So I want you to now come in and help me with this. So if you think that if you were in a bad financial situation, that you would invite God in then why don't you just invite him in now when you're not in that situation? And let him be part of your finances as well. So the rest of the time, I just want to get really practical with you. Very practical about how we can actually place a guardrail when it comes to our finances, so that we're not controlled by greed. Because none of us want to be greedy. So how do we make sure we're not greedy? How do we guard ourselves against greed? And here's how we do it. We have to reprioritize. You have to reprioritize your finances. Here's how most people live in America. Here's how most of us use our money. Here's what it is. First, we live on it. Then we save. Then we give. That's how most of us and most of America does it. We live first, save second, give third. So when you get your money, you pay your bills, you buy whatever else you want, you spend your money on that. If you have a 401k or 403b at work, you might save that way, you might throw some bucks in your savings account at some point. And then if you have anything left over, or if a tsunami happens, or somebody has a big need, then you may give a little bit of what's left over. Live, save, and give. If that's how you live your life, money is your master. Your master. Your master. Because look, live is me. Save is me. Give is everyone else. Live, me, save, me, give everybody else. Your master. Money is your master. So here's what we need to do. If we want to not be mastered by money, we have to reprioritize. Instead, we should give first. Save second. Live on the rest. Give, save, live. If we want to master our money, here's a practical way to do it. You give first, save second, live on the rest. Some percentages that get thrown around a lot for this is give 10%, save 10%, live on the rest. And here's how those percentages came. In the Bible talks about tithing, and tithing is giving back your first to God through the local church. And every time the Bible talks about tithing, it's always 10% or more. It's never less. It's never been less. So that 10% idea is there. So give 10%, save 10%, live on the rest. Now I understand some of you are not in a financial situation to do that. Like, I cannot give 10% of my money away. It's just not possible. You're living at 100% of your capacity. Then here's what I want you to do. Find a percentage that is comfortable for you and do that first. If you can give 1% away, 1%, you start with that. 1%. Make it a priority. It's the first thing that happens. The first thing you do is give. Save next and live on the rest. It's going to take adjusting. My wife and I, what we have to do in order to make sure that we're not overspending our live, because you'll spend a lot of money on stuff you don't need, is we write down every dime we spend on a big whiteboard. And it's annoying. Every coffee I get, everything else. But the reason why we do that is so we can stay away from the danger zone. Because we're not going to not give. Giving is number one. We're going to save and to live on the rest. So give, save, live. If you want to master your money, if you want to be financially independent, which all of us want to be, this is how you do it. Give first, save second, live on the rest. When you live life like life equals stuff, you live as if there is no God. Plus, you're always discontent. You're never fully satisfied. Because money, stuff, it's an appetite. And appetites are never done. You'll eat a huge meal and 3 hours later you'll be hungry again, right? Money is an appetite. You will never be fully satisfied with it. You won't buy that one thing that will fully satisfy you forever. You'll buy something that's awesome and then a couple years later you want to buy something else. It's an appetite. It's an appetite. In fact, most of you are going to run out of time before you run out of stuff. Most of us are going to run out of time before we run out of stuff, right? See, your life is not your stuff. Your life is your time. Your stuff is your stuff. Your life is your time. So why would you live as if stuff is your life? And why would you allow your stuff to own you, to be your master? Why would you allow that to happen? See, I don't want you to tell God you can have every area of my life but this, and put him to the side and live however you want when it comes to your finances and say, God, you stay over there. I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to choose money over your personal peace. I don't want you to choose money over your marriage or your kids or your grandkids. I don't want you to choose money over your health. I don't want you to put your morals aside in order for the pursuit of money. I don't want you to do that. I want you to have stuff. I don't want your stuff to have you. And God wants you to have stuff, but he doesn't want your stuff to have you. So if we want to make sure we're not mastered by money, this is how. Give first, save second, live on the rest. Jesus later on says this, and continuing in Matthew chapter 6, verse 31. It says, so do not worry, saying, what shall we eat? What shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. It says the pagans do this. Now, we think of pagans as like godless, but back then, pagans actually believed in a lot of gods. They just didn't believe in the one true God. And all of their gods that they believed in, all those gods did not care about them. They always had to sacrifice something or give something to keep them, to love them, to make sure that they blessed them. So Jesus is saying, why would you live as if you don't have a God that cares about you? Because you do. Your Father knows what you need. My kids, you know what they worry about in life? Their Christmas presents. That's it. It's the only thing they worry about is what, and Brooklyn has a huge list. Everything she sees, she wants. So all she worries about is their Christmas presents. My kids never worry about what they're going to eat. My kids never worry about what they're going to wear. They should worry about if they're clean, those clothes are clean, but they don't have to worry about having clothes. They don't have to worry about where they have to stay. Because why is that true? Because I love them. And I'll do whatever it takes to make sure they have what they need. I know what they need. I'll make sure they have it, no matter what, no matter how old they get. I'll make sure they have what they need because I love them. And your heavenly Father, who loves you so much that he sent his son to die for you, knows what you need. So why worry? Why worry? And then the last verse we're going to look at, verse 33 says this, but seek, what's that word? But seek what? Let's say it again, but seek what?
First.
First. It's not, wait, it doesn't say second, it doesn't say third, but seek first. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. You know what his kingdom is? His kingdom is an others first kingdom. That's what his kingdom is. Jesus demonstrated that. It's always somebody else first, always others first. So if you want to follow his kingdom, it's an others first kingdom. And when you live your life with number one being you, live, number two saving you, and then giving the rest, it's about you. Jesus' kingdom is not about you. It's others first. But seek first his kingdom, his righteousness. If you want to master your money, give first, save second, live on the rest. Now I know, while I'm talking about this, I can see in your guys' faces, you're like, of course you want us to be to give, because I'm going to give you money. I get it. I understand. There's some skepticism. I can feel it in the room. I can feel it. So I want to show you something that my wife and I just started with our kids, okay? So here's 3 jars that we have for my kids. So first jar we have says give. save, then live. Whenever our kids get money, we're teaching them how to do this. 10% of whatever money they get goes in their give, 10% goes in save, the rest goes in the live. And here's what's great about kids, and Frank taught me this with his kids. They'll do stuff for like a quarter. You don't have to give them anything. Here's a quarter to clean the room. So, whenever they get money, we're teaching our kids to give 10% first, save 10%, and then live on the rest. This, whatever you want. You want a toy? Take it out of there. You can do whatever you want. This save one, you're going to watch it grow. So you get more and more and more. Then give, you're going to give to the church. You're going to give with it. Now let me ask you a question. If all I want is your money, why would I make my kids do this? Seriously. Do you think our church needs $1.50? Do we need that? I mean, if we needed my kids' money, I would take it. I wouldn't tell them to do this. It would all be mine. They put it in the jars and they'd go to sleep, and I would just take it off and say, the tooth fairy showed up. I don't know what happened. He robbed it. I wouldn't even do this. The reason why I'm doing this with my kids is not so our church can get their money. The reason why I'm doing this with my kids is because I don't want them to be mastered by their money. So early, I'm teaching them to not be mastered by it. I don't want money to own them. I want them to own money. I want them to use their stuff when they need to use their stuff, but not be controlled by their finances. So this is how we're teaching them very early on. This is what my wife and I do. Now, if you're still skeptical, I get it. You're still skeptical. Of course you want us to give 10% to you. Okay, fine. Give 10% to anything. Not us. Find a charity you love. Give 10% away to that charity. Here's the problem with that. I just called out your excuse, and now you're like, oh no, I'm not going to do that either. And now you're stuck. You think I want your money? Fine. Don't give us anything. We don't want anything from you. We want something for you. Find a charity you love and give 10% of it away, or give a percentage away, a priority percentage. If you can afford 2%, give 2% away. Do that then. If you think that's all I want. Because you need to understand, God is not against you having money. He just doesn't want your money to have you. That's why it's so important. That's why he talks about it so much. And we live in America. We know a lot of people are bought by their money, right? So why live in that trap? Why do that? The way we fix that is by placing this guardrail. You want to master your money? Give first. Save second. Live on the rest. If you don't want to be greedy, you don't want to have the assumption that it's all for you, it's all for your consumption. You want to live with his kingdom in mind first, put in his kingdom first. This is how you do it. So I want to encourage you this week, as you think about this, I know some of you hate me, I get it, but as you think about this idea, I want to really encourage you to look at your stuff, look at what you have, look at your finances, and see how you can implement this in your life. Not so we can give money, don't give it to us, I don't care. Give it to someone else. But I just don't want you to be mastered. And this is the way to solve it. So if you're married, talk to your spouse. Figure out what it is that you can do. Figure out how you can do that. Because that appetite of stuff and money, it's never going to go away. You will always have it. And if you don't keep it under check, it's going to have you. You've got to do something about it. And Jesus says this is the way to do it. Give, save, and live. Can I pray with you guys? Dear God, I thank you that you want something for us, not want something from us. And I thank you that you're the God that just loves us so much. You sent your son for us. You've given us everything. And the reason why you want us to give back is not because you're a God that's greedy. Because you're a God that loves us and wants what's best for us. God, I pray that all these people in this room, no matter what they believe, you encourage them to find a way to make giving their first priority. Giving to something. God, I pray that no one here gets mastered by their money. God, I pray if they are mastered, you help them take the necessary steps to master their money. God, I thank you that you're the God that doesn't just want a part of us, but wants all of us. And knows what's best when it comes to our entire life, including our finances. God, I pray you to speak to us, you convict us, you tell us what we need to hear, and help us. Help us make the next steps that you want us to take, so that we're not mastered by our money. We love you, we praise you. In your son's name.